Welcome, I'm Terry Christensen, and this is Valley Politics. Si Se Puede means yes you can, and there's a new group putting out that message on San Jose's East Side. The Si Se Puede Collective is an alliance of East Side organizations working together on a range of issues that affect residents of the area and beyond. Today we'll talk with Maritza Maldonado, the Executive Director of Amigos de Guadalupe, and Veronica Goei, Executive Director of Grail Family Services, both of whom are also directors of the Si Se Puede Collective. Then, as San Jose's Charter Review Commission considers changes to the city's form of government, we'll revisit our 2015 interview with San Jose City Manager Norberto Duenas to hear what he had to say about what it's like being city manager in San Jose's current hybrid system of government. And that's what's coming up on Valley Politics. Welcome everyone, and welcome Maritza Maldonado and Veronica Goei. We're excited to hear about Si Se Puede, the Si Se Puede Collective. Maritza will get us started with why the organization came into being, its creation, and the mission.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you for having us. Veronica and I are founding members of the Si Se Puede Collective. It was a dream when I came back to serve the Mayfair community to do things differently. I knew all these amazing women of color that had been leading the organization and just talked to folks and said, hey, are you in? Do you want to really look at social impact and accessibility and how we can make and transform Mayfair in a different way? And everyone was ready and eager to move forward. So Veronica can talk to you a little bit about our vision for Mayfair.
Yes, so like Maritza said, there were 4 organizations that started this. We're 5 now. And we knew the community really well. We had been serving the community for many years, and we knew that one organization couldn't really possibly effectively address all the needs that the residents had, and we felt like if we do this job well together, the community is going to be better off because of that. And so our vision is to really uplift the gifts and talents of our residents and to allow resilient families to have dreams. You know, I don't think it's that complicated. Our community is just like any community, with families, with seniors, with young kids and youth. And they have the same dreams that other residents have in other communities. And our work is just to make sure that there's those opportunities and resources available so that that actually happens.
And what are the key partner organizations? Maritza, you're with Amigos de Guadalupe. Veronica, you're Grail Family Services, and the others are?
Somos Mayfair, School of Arts and Culture, and Vegelution.
And Vegelution.
Vegelution's a new partner that came on about 1.5 years ago, or 2 years now. You know, we kind of lost that 1.5 years with the pandemic.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's our newest partner for sure.
Yeah, it's not a partner you would normally expect with this sort of action, I suppose. But they are located on the East Side, in the heart of where you do your work. And they're all about food and healthy eating and cooking and so on. So that's a really important contribution.
Yeah, and that's what we found during the pandemic, the importance of having food access for our community. So they were a really key partner.
And the importance of bringing another partner that's rooted in East San Jose.
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing that unifies us. All of the 5 organizations are actually rooted and very trusted by the community for the work that we've done for so many years. So Vegelution was just a natural new partner and you know, came on board probably about 2 years ago.
And they've been around for a few years before that,
yes.
So they also have pretty deep roots in the community. And the specific geographic focus, is it Mayfair, the Mayfair neighborhood, or is it beyond that?
It's mainly Mayfair. Obviously, with the pandemic, we uplift East San Jose just because these were the zip codes that we all service in one way or another. But more importantly, these were historically communities that were marginalized. Social inequities, racism, and classism that have existed for generations there. And I think the pandemic proved that, showed that. And so our reach is broader than just Mayfair, but 95116, 27, and 22.
That's still pretty big territory to cover.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the name. Mayfair once was called Si Se Puede, which is get out if you can. But you chose Si Se Puede, so tell us why.
Well, we can both. I mean, I think we're both very passionate about the name, so we'll both have a little bit of an answer here. I mean, historically, the name Si Se Puede is connected to the history of activism for Latinos. So we didn't invent the name. It's just, it has a long history.
And actually, Barack Obama sort of translated it and stole it, didn't he?
Yeah, stole it a little bit. And so I think that we took the name because it started being used in the 70s, and it did galvanize the Latinos to get, better jobs and, benefits that they needed at that time. And we felt like, well, we want to galvanize and inspire our community, so what better name than Si Se Puede?
Yeah, and we stand on the shoulders of Cesar Chavez, who grew up in the neighborhood, whose niece actually just retired from Amigos of Guadalupe. His family home is in our neighborhood at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church, my church. We actually have the national monument dedicated to Cesar and Father McDonald, and so deep roots around that, but more importantly to honor the word Si Se Puede, that nothing is impossible when people are organized and come together for the common good.
Yeah, you're carrying on an organizing tradition that goes back 75 years maybe?
Yeah, for sure.
Long time, still working on it.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the specific projects and initiatives that you've undertaken. I know most recently a lot of the focus has been on the COVID pandemic. What's Si Se Puede Collective been doing on that?
Lots of work, and we do have to say and give credit not just to the Si Se Puede Collective, but to the many organizations that have joined us in this effort. So we have done lots of different initiatives to address the needs. We partnered with the Public Health Department to have a public health campaign that utilized community residents, we call them warriors against COVID, guerreras en contra del COVID, that were trained and went out in the community really talking to residents about what you need to do to prevent COVID, to continue to do the damage that it had already done. And so through that program, we distributed PPE to residents that didn't have access to face covering and sanitizer and other support that they needed during the pandemic. So that program has been incredible. So we're very grateful to Santa Clara County for the partnership. We also were able to bring a testing site in a vaccination site to the School of Arts and Culture, which is one of our partners that serve thousands of individuals both with testing and vaccination. One other very important aspect of the work has been that we've give away more than $2.5 million in financial assistance. All 5 organizations supported by different groups, private and public, were able to distribute this fund so that residents had actual money to really address some of the needs. thousands, I want to say over 200,000 boxes of food through the farm, through Vegelution, meals, diapers to families. So a lot of work has been done, and really pivoted the services that we individually as organizations provide, and to be able to address those needs. And I don't know if you want to add.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that I would add, Veronica, is just what we saw with the pandemic is the health disparities, and you know, our community who have been displaced, and we're seeing gentrification happen, also have to live 2 and 3 people living in one household. So it wasn't just one member that can isolate in their home. You know, usually in our community, when one member at the household got it, most people got.
It can be more than one family in the house.
That's right, and it was, you know, those were they are still very hard times for our community, and then hearing the stories that were very, very painful as well. So, you know, being able to provide loved ones with money to bury their loved one that may have been lost in the pandemic.
Do you think part of the problem, I know the county worked hard on this, the county was doing outreach, but not with complete success. Do you think part of the problem is there's a certain level of mistrust in the Eastside communities for government in general, for county?
Sure, we lived through an administration, a past administration, that created a lot of fear in our community, and so I think the model that we put together with the Guerreras was something that we're very proud of, literally saving lives, because these were the very neighbors living in the neighborhood, which was a very different model at the time that no one was thinking about, and moving that work forward that we're all very, very proud of, and we know that it saved many lives in East San Jose.
I think the thing that we are grateful to the county for is the fact that they listened to us. They looked at our innovative approaches and strategies. All the organizations that are part of the collective have a good track record. And so in many conversations with Supervisor Chavez, who really was the one instrumental in pushing some of these resources coming to the collective, but to the East Side. We are grateful for that, because that really made a huge difference for our community.
On a completely different issue, Supervisor Chavez has also been very involved in this too. That's the closing of Reid-Hillview Airport. The airport's been there for 60-some years, 70, 80 years. It's the 1930s, actually, long time there. Before there was a community around it. Now the community wants the airport out, and you're pushing on that issue. Why is it important to get that, to move Reid-Hillview Airport?
We're so excited.
You're so excited.
Well, it was a historic vote that happened this week. Unanimously voted to close the airport a little earlier than what is anticipated, to do whatever is necessary to close the airport. What we found out is lead has been poisoning our children, and someone that grew up a mile from that airport, I know it well. I worry about our children in that community, and the importance of how many people that came before us, like Blanca Alvarado, who was the first person to push. So,
back in the 90s. Long time.
Exactly. And the win of also unleaded fuel going in and out of that airport now. But you know, there was a lot of work that went on behind the scenes, a lot of advocates working and pushing to have this closed. So we're excited, and it's a real win for our community, for sure.
I mean, I think the exciting part, and we're seeing more and more of that, is our community being well informed about issues that impact their lives, and really getting out there and being not afraid of speaking in front of the supervisors and saying, we don't think this is okay. I have a 4-year-old, I have a 10-year-old, this is not okay. And so part of our work is also to organize and to educate our residents. We so strongly believe in their gifts and their talents. I have met some of the most amazing, resilient people in East San Jose. And so we're just like supporting that. But we believe in them, and it was great. It's a great example of what happens when community is well informed. Absolutely.
And an early victory is that the people operating the airport said they'll switch to unleaded fuel, because it's still going to be there for a few years, even if you win in the end. But why is that not enough?
I think it's not enough because the damage was done. The damage is done for generations of kids. And for, again, someone who has lived her entire life in East San Jose, and it's a very proud resident to call East San Jose home, also realizing that disparities like that continue to plague our community. And other people would not want that for their community. And our families just want what's right and just, period. It's not about, you know, the airport flying in and out. Kids were harmed by that, and no one wants that for any child.
And if you think about it, if this airport was in a different community, it wouldn't have stayed there for so long. And so we want to believe that if we live in a valley that values equality and human dignity, that something needs to be done so that the disparities are addressed. And so it's not enough, and the groups will continue to fight until it's totally closed and reimagined. Reimagined to utilize the space for housing, for new schools, for resources and opportunities for the community of East San Jose.
And there are still noise and safety issues beyond the fuel issues. What are some other initiatives the collective's worked on?
So we have received a national grant from Robin Hood Foundation for mobility labs. I will have Veronica talk a little bit about that. We're excited about the good work that's going on in East San Jose through that national grant.
Yes, we were very excited to be selected among, we're one of 6 projects nationwide that has launched a mobility lab project in East San Jose. So East San Jose is one of the 6 communities. And what the project would do is uplift residents from poverty by providing them with innovative strategies to get a job, to be trained. Specifically right now, we have 2 cohorts, one of individuals that provide childcare in their homes that are not licensed. The need for childcare everywhere is huge. It's huge in East San Jose. So we're going to have a cohort of individuals that are doing that work but need a little bit of support in terms of training and getting the information and resources to potentially become licensed or turn that into their own business. In addition to that, we're going to have a cohort of a group of residents that are food entrepreneurs, and that's going to be led by Vegilution. So Vegilution and Grail Family Services are kind of leading this effort. But what I think is important about this project is when we talk about economic mobility, we're not just talking about jobs. The cohort members will be also developing their leadership skills and their advocacy skills. And so then here we have a group of probably 150 individuals that will not only increase their opportunities to increase their revenue, but will be civically engaged. And so we're super excited. We just launched, and it's supported by all the agencies of the collective.
And we also have all of our agencies have a community navigator on board to make sure that our community understands and know the resources that are available to them.
And there might be some significant federal funds if the next round of infrastructure money, the social infrastructure money, gets passed, because childcare is a big part of that.
Absolutely.
So good luck with that initiative, really an important one. And you'll have more than one cohort, is that the idea?
Yes, it's a 3-year project, 3-year project.
Great. That can be very transformative
Absolutely.
for individuals, but for the community as well. What about politics? Does the collective get involved in elections, voter registration, voter turnout, politics, endorsing?
We don't endorse. We don't endorse, but we were very proud of our voter engagement that we did for the presidential election. It was called Power Not Fear, and it was led by residents in our community. We registered a lot of people to vote that hadn't voted. We were giving rides to people to voting booths, and it was a big fiesta at the Mexican Heritage Plaza to get families out to vote. And you know, we will continue to do that work, and we also do candidates forums. It's important for our community to come out and listen. We're impartial. We don't tell people how to vote, but for us, it's just critical that, you know, District 5 in East San Jose will be having a new representative soon, and how do we get them involved?
Yeah, those candidate forums are important, not just for the community to meet the candidate, but for the candidate to meet the community and hear what their concerns are. So it's two-way street.
Absolutely.
Very important.
And again, it's that same concept of getting the community to be more informed about policies that will directly impact them.
Well, this is not electoral politics, but as you both know, there's a Charter Revision Commission underway in San Jose, and they're considering some changes that could have a significant impact on the East Side, one of which involves changing election dates for the mayor to the presidential year when there's much higher turnout, especially in the East Side. Is the Si Se Puede Collective getting involved with charter change?
So our organization is working on the charter now. We have a cohort of 25 people that we are working with to understand, just what the charter is, but more importantly for us, it's important for an immigrant community to understand and find their voice in the democracy that we want to create around justice and equality, and so everyone should be part of that process, and we're excited about that work that's currently happening, and also to bring voices that have not been part of that process to that process.
I always like to say the charter sets out the rules of the game, and the rules of the game sometimes determine the winners and losers. So it's really important to be engaged in that process. You both know I've been around a long time in San Jose as a long-time observer of local politics, especially on the East Side. And it just strikes me that there's been a surge in the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, a surge of organizing on the East Side. Besides the Si Se Puede Collective and all the nonprofits that are functioning there are groups focusing on community planning, on looking at new development, on encouraging affordable housing, small businesses organizing, focusing on displacement, both of businesses and residents. Am I right? Is there a surge, and what's going on? What happened?
So I think, again, I think there has always been organizing happening in San Jose, if it wasn't through PACT doing a bunch of their work there, through what's happening now, through the collective and other folks. And you know, I think more than ever, we have come together to really raise up the voices of residents and empower them to act and to be their own advocates. And you know, we're concerned about what might happen to our beautiful East San Jose with the displacement and gentrification, and we see our community as an asset, and you know, our language, our music, our food is all part of the vibrancy that is San Jose. And so when we start hearing developers coming into our neighborhoods, we worry, you know, especially if they're not talking to residents.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, and I think the other thing that, you know, could have influenced that is the pandemic itself. And so the pandemic, you know, allowed this for all of us to see disparities that had been taking place for decades. Like, we had seen them, and many of those because of policies that were racist. And so I think that with all that being uncovered, there's a real need for the community to get out there and really, you know, have a voice. And so we're excited to see that it's not just our group, that there are other groups out there doing similar work. And I think if you think about it, it's something that's happening around the country, which is wonderful to see.
And we're just living out Si Se Puede every single day in East San Jose.
Well said. Well, we're just about out of time. We have a few seconds left. If people want to connect with Si Se Puede, the Si Se Puede Collective, how can they do that?
Sure, they can contact any of our organizations. You know, we all have volunteer opportunities and want to be part of a movement that is going to transform East San Jose. So they can call they can call Grail Family Services, Amigos de Guadalupe, School of Arts and Culture, Revolution, or Somos Mayfair. Great.
Well, Veronica Goei, Maritza Maldonado, thank you very much for being with us today, and good luck with your work.
Thank you so much for having us.
Let's hear now what former City Manager Norberto Duenas had to say about working in San Jose's current hybrid form of government. This is from our 2015 interview. Here's Norberto. Most big cities the size of San Jose, have what's called a strong mayor form of government. So the mayor is the chief executive. But San Jose is a hybrid system, and the power is really shared between you and the mayor and the council. How do you balance that off? What do you do if you don't agree with the mayor?
Usually we do rock, paper, and scissors to see what we agreed to. No, it's I've grown up in this hybrid type of organization. You know, my goal is to provide the mayor and the council with the best possible information for them to make the policy decisions that they need to make day in and day out. And so it's a very respectful relationship. It's a very professional relationship. And sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, but most of the time it's really to achieve consensus through collaboration and making sure the needs of our community are being met.
But on those occasions when you see the mayor and the council straying from what you think is proper and correct policy, what do you do? How do you handle that?
I focus on the information. I focus on the data and the policy analysis that the staff has done. At the end of the day, we present our recommendation. We present the information backing up that recommendation, that policy decision. Clearly at council meetings, there'll be dialogue, there'll be questions. Sometimes we have to follow up and provide additional information on what they're requesting. But at the end of the day, we know that the policymakers make the ultimate decision, and we will respect and abide by that decision.
And as city manager, what's your tenure? How long do you get to keep this job?
You know, that's really up to my bosses.
And the bosses are the mayor and the city council. It's not just the mayor.
That's correct. It's the mayor and the city council. In order for me to have been appointed city manager, required 6 votes of the council. And any day they can decide to ask me to move on and do something else. But it's really up to them. And it's something that you know right away when you go into it, and you know, I feel very comfortable with it. It's I've grown up in this organization, and it's a great job.
Let's talk a little bit about past city managers. You know, we've got this budget and pension problem, and the political leaders, the elected officials, get a lot of blame for the budget problem. But I wonder what proportion of the problem or the responsibility for the problem really is shared by past city managers. You all are supposed to be the experts in public policy, right? So weren't city managers in the past at least partly responsible for the problems we've got today?
Yeah, you have to share clearly in the decision-making process. I mean, the city manager, especially in the past, before we had district elections and full-time council members, city managers wielded a lot of power and influence in organizations, not only in San Jose but throughout the country. So clearly there is a sharing of the decision making, and you know, it's easy to do the, like I said, the Monday morning quarterbacking, but at the end of the day, it is a shared decision-making process. And so, you know, I leave it up to the historians to decide where the blame or the responsibility should be.
Okay, well, we'll be watching. That was former San Jose City Manager Norberto Duenas. Next month, we'll be back with Fred Buzo of SPUR, the Regional Planning Advocacy Organization, plus a final comment on possible changes in San Jose's form of government from former Mayor Ron James. Meanwhile, you can follow us on Facebook, and you can catch up on all our previous shows on our website at createtvsj.org or on YouTube by searching for Create TV San Jose. And now, that's all, folks. Thanks for watching.